I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending July the 31st. And what a rough week we had last week. We had sharply lower fed cattle, sharply lower feeder cattle. The board had no support at all. Grains were higher, and we had those two USDA reports, a cattle inventory report that showed we had numbers coming up on the way, and they really won't show up on the market until late in 2016, but it doesn't give you a whole lot to look forward to. Cattle on feed report was bearish with those placement numbers, and really just a down week we had last week, and thought it would carry over into this week, but this was really a pivotal week this week as we come in, and CME live cattle futures up about $3 for the week with big gains on Tuesday, and then saw some late week support after we started seeing some direct fed cattle trade there on Friday. And feeder cattle is such a thinly traded commodity right there, only about $1 higher for the week, and really thought we could have seen more than that. But cash feeder cattle in the auctions early in the week sharply lower, just trying to catch up with those big losses seen mid to late week last week. And once we got into those sales, those mid to late week sales that had the big losses last week, they were pretty much uneven. Some of them were still $2 to $3 lower on yearlings. Some of them were starting to show the market picking back up again, $2 to $3 higher, maybe more, especially in the northern plains, where when these farmer feeders come into the market, they just have a lot of demand for the physical product of feeder cattle. They're staring at an outstanding corn crop right out their back door. They've got a lot of corn left in the bin from last year. They want to walk that to town, and really showing a lot of demand there, but the Chicago board is not picking any of that up. But for the last 2 weeks, we've fully seen $10 to $12 loss in value of feeder cattle, especially on those weighing over 800 pounds. Not so much on your 6 to 7 weights, because those are going to eat the most corn up. They got the most time to cheapen themselves up, and really none of these cattle pencil out very good, but cattle feeders always like to put off their losses as far as they can. But corn this week was sharply lower. Tuesday there lost over 19 cents on the new crop contract there, and really almost $1 a bushel cheaper than it was just a week or two ago. And that's just coming from the outstanding appearance of the crop. Sure, we see some reports that come in and 70% of it's good to excellent and all that kind of stuff, but you can just drive up down through the country in the corn belt and see how good the corn looks. The yellow tint that was in the low spots there where the standing water was, those have all brightened up, especially in the western corn belt. Nebraska and Iowa and places like that are really good. Maybe some spots in the eastern where they just had that standing water and dreary weather for so long is not quite so good, but you know, Nebraska and Iowa is where they grow corn, and it looks awful good out there. Your feeder cattle contract, we talked, has no support at all. Closed on Friday. August contract, which we're coming into August right now, should be tied up close to what cash is, closed at 210.72. Your CME feeder cattle index is at 215.95. That's put together with USDA market news. They've got market reporters hired all over the country to run and sit in these sales and write prices down and punch them in a computer, and it puts that out, comes out through the CME. Cattle Market Central's figuring the same type of a number the same way, with automated information coming right from the clerk's computer system. We call it the real-time index. It's at 217.99 with some good big sales this week. And if you haven't looked at CMC for a while, you need to get logged back on there and see. If you didn't think we had enough volume before, we're adding new sale barns by the bunches every few days. We got a lot more this week, and it's just good automated real-time information. It's time stamped. You can see what time those cattle went through the ring, what they brought. That information is available before those cattle get to the pin-back pen, and we've got a lot of new sales on there and just where you want to go. How about El Reno Livestock Market? OKC West had 127 steers, weighed 801 at 215.50. Winter Livestock, Dodge City, Kansas had a load of heifers, weighed 733 at 212.60. South Central Regional Stockyards in Vienna, Missouri had a load of steer calves, weighed 665 at 239.75. Paris, Kentucky had a load of heifer calves, weighed 639 at 222.40. Fort Pierce, South Dakota on Friday had a load of steers weighed 751 at 244.50. Salina, Kansas, farmers and ranchers livestock had a load of steers weighed 788 at 219.75. Coffeyville, Kansas had a load of steers weighed 770 at 216.50. And that's just a sample of them. Get on there. If you're just interested in the load lots, you can pull a custom report and make the minimum head count requirement where it has at least a load, and you can see that information right on there. Look at some other sales this week that just show how far the board is behind. On Superior Livestock, Video Royale there, this week for current delivery they had 210 steers, weighed 735, which is really close to that 750 pound benchmark, which the board's supposed to be off of. They brought 225. You look at that and they say, well, they're about $15 behind what the August board is, and it's August. Well, the heck of it is, those weren't even yearlings. They were weaned calves, and they were in a growing yard and put together cattle at that. Bought cattle out of southern Iowa and northern Missouri. Nothing, there's anything wrong with that. But what if these cattle had been one iron half brothers, all black hided yearlings weighing about that? What would they have brought? And you just see how far behind this board is as to what's really going on out in the country. Slaughter this week was really small, 532,000 compared to 575,000 the same week last year. Your calf market, calves around the country, $2 to $5 lower for the most part, but in the major production areas, we're starting to see some of these new crop springborn calves coming in, and not just in the southeast, but out in the plains and in the northern plains where they get some of those really nice strings of ranch calves coming in. Husk Platte Valley Livestock Market had some springborn calves, little 213 pound steer calves this week, had 50 of them, bring $950 a head. You figure that by the 100, that's $446 by the 100 weight. Wow. And heifer calves, similar heifer calves, bringing $890 to $910 per head. So looks like there's going to be plenty of demand from growers to buy some of those cattle. Fat cattle this week, it looks like we've established a bottom here last week at 145, 145 and a half on the weighted average, and that was the lowest that fat cattle had traded since May of 2014. But this week, packers come out and acted like they needed some cattle, even though the slaughter's been so tight. And we're bidding at midweek, and then on Friday we're buying cattle $2 to $3 higher from 147 to 149, 147 mostly in the southern plains, and 234 up to a few 235 dressed up in the northern plains. But that concludes your cattle market summary for this week. Check out DV Auction for your regular weekly auctions, a bunch of fall production sales coming down the line. Check out Cattle Market Central. Like I said, get on there and log on and find some auctions in your area that you're interested in and see what the market's doing. And you can find this report on the StockExchangeNews.com. So from my home office here in Maysville, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.